the News Channel 5 Network. This is Inside Politics.
Hello, everyone. I'm News Channel 5's political analyst, Pat Nolan. Welcome to Inside Politics. Why do we argue about politics, and how should we do it? That's the topic of a new book written by two Vanderbilt University professors, Scott Aikin and Robert Tallise. They are our guests here on Inside Politics today, and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you, Pat, for having us.
Now, why did you select this particular topic?
Well, it struck us, Scott and I, that we were complaining as a nation a lot about the character of our public political discourse. And it seemed as if as technology was working so that there was more argument in the public, more communication about politics, it seemed as if the character of those exchanges was becoming more and more problematic. So it seems as if that argument is something that we human beings are naturally inclined to do, but that doesn't mean that we're naturally able to do it well.
Professor Aikin, your subtopic of the book, or subtitle, is A Guide to Political Disagreement. Does that mean there's both a right way and a wrong way to argue politics?
Well, for sure, and that's reflected in the way in which people even seem to make the joke. We say that this is a book about argument and politics, or logic in politics, and people often joke, well, is there any logic in politics? So we kind of walk into that joke, and the complaint seems to be that that there is a right way and a wrong way, and we're overwhelmingly doing it badly. And so what's needed in whenever folks are not doing it quite right is, you might say, a little bit of coaching, and that's what this book is a little bit of coaching on how to argue.
We'll go into some detail about this, Professor Tallise, but can you give us sort of a brief, maybe a couple of bullet points for what people should take away as far as this guide when they get through with it? I learned 1, 2, 3.
Sure. So it seems to us that, and the book closes with a chapter about sort of rules for good political argument. And it seems to us that contemporary political arguments seem to fail on 3 main points. The first is that individuals tend to get their view about what their opponents think from the people that they agree with. They don't actually get their view of the opposition from the opposition. So one rule is go to the source. Find out what the people with whom you disagree think by asking those people. The second is part of the point of political argument is to make clear to the people with whom you disagree what your commitments are, how you reason from certain facts or certain premises to your conclusion, so that they, your opponents, can understand your position. And third, it goes the other way. Political argument has to involve a moment in which you engage with the criticisms and critical thoughts that your opponents have to offer, so that political argument isn't winning a contest, as it's often portrayed. It's winning in this other sense. It's coming to have a firmer understanding of your own position by having a firmer understanding of your opponents.
Professor Aikin, the human condition of arguing politics, is it innate within us? Is it something that came out of our Western civilization culture from the Greeks and Romans? Is it something uniquely American?
Well, for sure, being political, it looks like it's something that we just as humans seem to have. We're political animals, as Aristotle had rightly observed, and that we depend on each other. We depend on each other to cooperate, for our civilizations to work, and we depend on each other for information. So as a consequence, we're keenly interested in exchanging information with each other. But for sure, in democracies, we depend on the reliability of our capacity to exchange reason with each other well, because in a democracy, we're the ones who make the decisions. We're the ones who are responsible.
In the book, you say, Dr. Tallise, that proper argumentation is seen as a central role in our well-functioning democracy. So you don't think we're doing very well. And what does that mean about the future of democracy?
Well, not only don't I think we're doing very well, it seems to me that it's a commonly agreed to thought on all sides of politics that we're not doing well. Typically the criticisms are, when we say, well, there's no logic in politics or there's no reason in politics, people who say that usually are criticizing the people with whom they disagree. I think we're all failing, though. Democracy is the political commitment to the thought that reasoned disagreement among sincere, well-informed citizens is possible, and that it's possible to disagree about very important matters, and yet still be well-informed, sincere, smart, and intelligent. That democracy is the proposition that smart people can disagree. So we have to get disagreement right if we're going to do democracy right.
Dr. Aikin, doing the things you're talking about doing, going to the source, learning about this stuff, being able to articulate your thoughts and ideas about that. That sounds like maybe a lot more work than some people want to do about
That's
politics.
right. This is a really serious concern about, you might say, democratic citizenship. And this is a long-standing concern about democracies. So with the first democracies in Athens, the philosopher Plato was really concerned about the way that democracies work. They made bad decisions and made them consistently, and that the concern about democracies was that the decisions didn't seem to get made by the people who were thinking hard about the matters. And so one of the realities is we have the technology now to be able to communicate with each other, to do the research, to keep up with it. And the issue is now doing it responsibly, not about whether or not you've got the time to do it.
But isn't the problem in part of this that when you have these discussions, the emotions get in? And so therefore all the ideas about going and rationally hearing what the other side has to say and then rationally deciding how that fits into what you think, that's kind of hard because people get kind of worked up about this, and when emotion comes in, reason sometimes goes someplace else.
Well, that's right. But notice, the reason why people get worked up in the face of disagreement is because they care so much about getting matters right. Right? It's if we didn't care about getting things right and we didn't care about reasons, that there's disagreement wouldn't upset us so much. So it looks as if the reason why we tend to get emotional in these cases is because we care so much about truth and reason and thinking things through correctly. So the justification or the reason why getting emotional makes sense is because we care about reason. So it looks as if the right way to be indignant and to get upset and to get loud has to ride sort of piggyback on doing your job as a rational creature.
Let's take a break. We're talking with two Vanderbilt professors. They are Scott Aikin and Robert Tallise. They're philosophy professors. They've written a book about why we argue about politics and what's the right way to do it. It's a primer for political argument. Back to continue our conversation with these two gentlemen after this break.